You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 53. Today we welcome in Dennis Hernandez, owner of Dennis Hernandez Associates, a personal injury attorney in Tampa, Florida, with many other locations around Florida, including Sarasota, Orlando, Fort Myers, Bradenton, and the list goes on. So how are you doing this evening? And how are things in Florida, Mr. Hernandez?
Please call me Dennis. Everything's
Dennis,
great.
thank you.
Here. Yeah, everything's great down here. Got a little rain coming in, but we've got cars back on the road. Everything's kind of opening up from the COVID thing and making a pretty good recovery here.
Did you have your firm working virtually, or how did that work out?
We actually we had some people virtual, but we had our offices were staffed because people that get in crashes and so forth need assistance. Some of them can do it electronically. Some of them we go out to meet them if they want, but some people want to meet in the office. So we kept the offices open the whole time.
Yeah, for sure. It's like really hard not to in your position, not to go meet with those clients who have been in accidents and so forth. So like you're doing great work. And I saw on your website, I wanted to wish you a happy 25th anniversary.
Thank you.
So like anything to say about that? That's incredible. Congratulations. On doing what you do for the citizens of Florida.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I've been a lawyer for 30 years. I was at two large law firms before I went out on my own, where I represented a lot of rich people and big companies. And I think it was at that point being from a humble background and growing up, low middle class, it wasn't something I really felt good about, just making rich people richer or saving a little bit more money. And because of my background and being raised in hardworking families that, they always worked hard, but they never made a lot of money.
Right.
And I decided that I wanted to help the poor and the downtrodden. That's what I always say, the poor and the downtrodden.
For sure. So like diving into your lawyer story, we featured you on our platform a few days ago. As of this recording, it is July 1st. You tell us you were born and raised in Florida. Your mom's side are crackers, which was sort of like, okay, I better Google that. And your dad's side might have migrated a few generations ago from Cuba. Can you tell us a little bit about like the crackers?
Sure.
In Cuba thing? That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom's side of the family goes back to 1838 in Florida. I have a great-great-grandfather that was actually sheriff of the territory that was in the Hillsborough County area. He's buried in Cedar Key. And that was before we even had counties there. He was the sheriff in the territory. So we go back to the cattle and orange groves. My grandfather had an orange grove. He was involved in cattle. And where the word cracker comes from, it's really not a derogatory term, even though some people probably use it that way. But cracker comes from the crack of the whip when you're herding cattle.
Oh, okay.
So we don't really view it as something negative. That's what we are. We're Florida crackers on the one side. And then on my dad's side, I've got an interesting combination here. But on my dad's side, my great-great-grandfather was born in Cuba. But then my great-grandfather was born in Key West.
Okay.
And then my grandfather is born in Tampa. So I've got generations back, and I tell people I'm a Cuban cracker.
You're a Cuban cracker. Okay. So, and your grandfather was like one of your biggest influences.
Oh, absolutely.
Was that your maternal or your paternal or?
Paternal, yeah, it was my dad's dad. Yeah, he grew up in Tampa during the Great Depression, like a lot of our ancestors did, and he ended up getting a 5th grade education before he had to go. Yeah, before he had to go to work. His dad died when he was like 2 years old, and he had a rough upbringing. So he worked super hard his whole life, and he was a waiter at the Columbia restaurant, which is I think the oldest restaurant in Tampa. And they scraped together some money and started buying some little fallen down houses. And I actually helped them fix those up when I was a kid, painting and changing, bathrooms and all that kind of stuff. So he always emphasized to me how important an education was, because he didn't have one. And he always admired, people that had a CPA or a doctor or a lawyer or something like that.
So he was basically like, you got to get an education. You got to get out there, like,
right,
follow in your own footsteps. Please do this.
Right.
And that sort of like, that leads me to another point. Like you said, you were like the first one in your family to go to college or get a degree. So like, how does that like flip the script? Like when you're in a family who hasn't maybe valued college and like doesn't go to graduate school, and like, how did they come about telling you to go to school? And like, what's that like?
Well, it's interesting because on my mother's side, I just held a family reunion for that side of the family. And from my great grandmother on her side, my mother's side, there are 240 total family member descendants from just my great grandmother on my mom's side.
Wow.
And we have one medical doctor now and one doctor of pharmacy. I was the first lawyer to come through, and now we have another lawyer also that in the family. But the vast majority of everyone else is, manual labor. Some of them have their own businesses and so forth, but they're not educated. But on my grandfather's side, he had a hard time speaking English because even in Tampa, he grew up in a Spanish-speaking neighborhood.
Yep.
So he didn't have a lot of interaction with English speaking. And so his opportunities were greatly limited, because he didn't have the education. He had to make money based on hard work. I mean, painting, cleaning, putting on roofs, taking care of the yards of all these old houses he would pick up that he could, afford to get into. And, he's one of these 12 to 16 hour a day workers. And my grandmother, his wife, helped him tremendously. She did have a high school degree all the way back to Hillsborough High School. Which is it's either the oldest or second oldest. I want to say it's the oldest high school in Hillsborough County, and she graduated in 1938, and I have her yearbook.
Wow.
That's very few women, back then.
Yeah.
You graduated from high school, it was either be a teacher or a nurse if you graduated. But she helped him a lot with the financial things, and he just, he was just a grinder. And he saw that people, who in Florida, it's obviously real hot. So if you're outside painting houses or doing yard work,
sure.
It's hard work, it's 100 degrees outside. So he always kind of told me that it'd be good if I worked inside of a air-conditioned office and wore a tie. He wasn't even really focused on making a lot of money. He was focused on getting me out of the sun. Yeah, that was the first part. So I don't know how well you're going to do, but at least you won't be working out in the sun.
Right. So like, just get a job at a desk. So like, when was that moment where you said, I'm going to be a lawyer? Like, what kind of made you do that?
Well, the weird thing is this. My grandparents really wanted me to be a medical doctor. Back then, I don't know if you remember this, but that generation really perceived doctors as being next to God, because it was really the first generation where the medical profession could really extend your life.
Sure.
Through treatment and so forth. So they wanted me to be a medical doctor. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer. I was on the fence. My mother said, I just want you to be the best at whatever you do. She literally said, I don't care if you're a garbage man, as long as you're the best garbage man out there.
That's weird. Dennis, like, I feel like, honestly, I've heard that in my lifetime too. They were like, if you don't want to, like, you could be a garbage. I mean, it's like, I don't like to say that because, I mean, obviously they work very hard. They make more than incoming lawyers in New York City. But I mean, I think like, I've actually heard that too. So go ahead.
Yeah. So she said, but the only thing I don't want you to be is a lawyer. So at that instant, I decided to be a lawyer.
So your mom said she didn't want you to be a lawyer.
She said, be anything you want, just be the best at what you are, but whatever you do, please don't become a lawyer.
Why did she say that? Like, why did she not want you to be a lawyer?
Well, I think that she had some, bad experiences, honestly, going through the divorce and so forth. She had a bad experience with the legal system in general. So she had a bad perception of lawyers as a result of her limited interaction with one or two of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All
But
right.
having been raised, low middle class, we were pretty much
So wait,
poor.
but you went to law school. Your mom was like, don't be a lawyer. And you were like, I'm going to law school.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was the clincher.
Why? Because were you trying to like rebel against her? Like,
No, I don't think so. I thought she had an inaccurate perception of lawyers.
okay.
And so I didn't think she really understood it. And I realized that it was a profession in which I could help people who didn't have a lot of money. And that's something I can relate to, having grown up without a lot.
Okay. So you went to Duke, which is like a great school, undergrad. Where did you grow up though? Were you in Florida?
Tampa. Oh yeah, I was born and raised
So
in
how did
Tampa.
you end up at Duke? Like, that's a great school, but
Yeah, well, this is another kind of, I guess you'd call it a rebellion story, but
okay.
it's a true story, which is I went to a college. I went to Chamberlain High School, which is a high school in Tampa. And I went to one of the college fairs in the library, and they had a bunch of brochures laid out there. And having been from a family that had no education, I had no idea really which schools were better than the next. That was before the internet. You could get the US News and World Report and read the rankings, but I didn't even know about that at the time. So I went to the college fair, and one of the I was looking through the brochures, and I was going through the Florida schools, and I came up to the Duke University brochure, and one of the librarians stepped up and said, "There's no sense in looking at that because you'll never get into that school."
Really?
Yeah, because
How would the librarian know? It's not like she was like educating you, right? I mean,
yeah.
What is that?
I just found it as a sign to, like, anytime someone says you can't do that, I don't know if you have that personality.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I want to now do.
You sent her like a hat and a Christian Leitner jersey at Christmas, right?
Yes,
So
exactly. I was there with Leitner too. Yeah,
you were there. Wait, said it again?
I went to school there when Leitner was there.
That's amazing. Oh,
yeah, I was there from 85 through 88.
All right. That's incredible. All right.
So and I was supposed to graduate in 89. 3 of the 4 years they went to the finals.
Yeah, Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill.
Grant Hill.
So you were literally just like looking at this glossy like magazine of because the colleges try to they try to suck you in with these things, and she was like, "You'll never get in there." It's like, okay, well, here's my degree.
I never even opened the book. I turned around. That was the last. I just saw the front of it, and when she said that made my decision. I was going to attempt to get into that school.
Wow.
And I left the college fair. I didn't even look at one more college. So
Wow, you really had it out for this librarian, huh? That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a dartboard in your office with her on it, or no?
No, I always find those things. I like them. I like when people challenge me.
Yeah, of course. Same in your profession today. Like, you want to be challenged.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to rise to the challenge. I think all humans do, and so it's nice when you get challenged by someone that you can't do something, and then you achieve it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So you've done everything on your own up to this point, and then you went to Florida State. You went back to law school at Florida State. So tell us about that. You were just like, okay, like undergrad was awesome at Duke.
Right.
I want to go back north to Tallahassee.
Right. So actually, I was admitted to some business schools like Columbia University, which is one of the top 10 business schools. I was 20 years old when I graduated from Duke University. I had a decision to make as to whether I wanted to incur, hundreds of thousands and live in New York City. And honestly, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, said to me, and he was absolutely right. He said, "Dennis, you need to go to law school because you can run a business with a law degree, but you cannot be a lawyer without a law degree. I mean, you can run a business with a law degree.
Smart, like,
but you can't be a lawyer without a law degree."
That's tremendous advice right there.
And then he told me, and that you can't work for anyone because I've always had an issue with authority.
Right.
I made it at Burger King for 4 hours before I quit. And I was at Villa Gym as a waiter for about a week before I got thrown out. So I just never did well with supervisors.
Yep.
I really needed to be captain of my own ship. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So you went there. What did you like FSU? Like I have loose ties to FSU. They're like my football team. Like I'm a UMass grad, but that's tremendous. So you went to FSU.
I love Florida State. I thought it was an outstanding education. In fact, after Florida State, when I went to Harvard Law School to get the advanced degree.
We're getting to Harvard. We're getting to Harvard, Dennis. I'm in Mass. I'm 45 to an hour from Harvard, but go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so when I went to Harvard and started taking courses there, I think I really learned how valuable my education at Florida State was, because what I learned was everybody's reading from the same book. Everybody's reading from the same law.
Right.
Basically, everything at Florida State would have been presented almost identically at Harvard. The only real difference is you have a lot of super competitive students because they get the top of the top. So you've got big competition. And secondly, they have professors that are, on TV, like Dershowitz, who does criminal law and things like that. So they have that these high profile professors and really, beautiful campus, obviously, but Florida State was gorgeous as well.
But what, you got your LLM at Harvard? Is that what it was?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So you went to FSU and you're like, I want to keep going, and you got your what made you apply to Harvard?
Well, I was applying to some tax schools and some LLM business schools, and so I applied to NYU for tax. I got in there. That's #1 school, as you know. I got into University of Florida for tax, and I said, well, let me try Harvard. I got into Harvard, and I thought, this is just one of those dream degrees that I would never have imagined that I could hang on the wall.
If you want to send me a T-shirt, that'd be tremendous. So I get it totally. Have you ever seen the 1973 classic, The Paper Chase, the movie?
Yes. Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, it's been a little while. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, it has been a while. It's a great movie about 1Ls at Harvard Law School. I love it. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. So congratulations. So we've covered all that through your education. That's amazing. So I love that you went up to Massachusetts. Like, any commentary about Massachusetts?
I love Massachusetts. The springtime was just absolutely incredible with the dogwoods and everything in bloom. And whale watching there was phenomenal, and going down, to get the seafood at the port was incredible. Did the Paul Revere walk, the 4-hour walk through all of that little town. It's just got a lot of history to it. So I really liked Boston a lot.
Is this like a foreshadow thing? Like, my guy Tom Brady went from the Patriots to Tampa, and like you sort of did the same thing. So maybe you talked to him about like being in Tampa, being in Boston. Maybe you gave him like anyway. So
yeah, I don't think he was worried about my approval, but
no, he didn't. You didn't give him the analysis. All right. No. So like you have a great. So let's fast forward a little bit today. So like you have like a great love for like the Tampa community. Like what kind of things do you do? And like you have a family history in Tampa. Like, what's that all about?
Well, had a great opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. I took my daughter, so we actually got to watch, in Tampa Bay, and we were.
Oh man!
And I was born and raised in Tampa, so
that's amazing.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
that was an awesome event. We've been involved in all kinds of the Tampa Bay community. From car shows to floats and the Gasparilla parades. For several years, we've been doing a yearly float in the children's parade for special needs children. And we run an ad on TV. It's a public service announcement saying, if you have a child with special needs, call this phone number, and we'll get you on a float. And that's always a blast, because we get to dress them up like pirates and throw beads and that kind of stuff. Also, my youngest son has Down syndrome.
Okay.
So I've been involved with a lot of the Down syndrome fundraising events through even some of the radio stations that are here in Tampa, and a lot of special needs type of things. I would say that's probably, been my primary focus, other than just being involved in the Tampa community as a whole. We have some beautiful activities. And,
No, that's terrific. It sounds amazing.
yeah,
Do you have
beautiful
any,
area.
like, Dennis, I'd love to see photos from, did you take any at the Super Bowl? You or any of your daughters? Like, if you, not right now, I mean, you could, no, you could show them to us now, but we'd love to like show them to our, our Instagram.
Oh,
And
yeah,
like,
cool.
tell your daughters like that. Cause I was wearing an orange shirt for Tampa Bay, but with the Tom Brady,
Cool.
with the Tom Brady Buckeye, the Buccaneer, he was as the Buccaneer, head.
Yeah, that's good.
So, I was rooting for you guys. So it's dope.
That's awesome.
I'd actually love to see photos. So
Yeah.
I want to jump into like your practice right now, if possible. So like, why did you get into like the car crash and law, and, how did you start to focus specifically on helping motorcycle, car, and pedestrian accident victims? Like, how did that happen? Like, what made you want to do like the personal injury side of things?
Sure. Well, first of all, when I was growing up, I was involved religiously in church, and much more so than I am now. But one of the things that I really focused on was people that help the poor and the downtrodden. That's kind of the phrase that always stuck in my head: the poor and the downtrodden. People that have been just trampled on.
Right.
And so, it's sort of a natural progression of helping people that were truly, I kind of view them as damned in a sense, because they have an injury that they're now a prisoner in their own body with. So they are going to live on earth some level of hell. And on the other side, you've got somebody that injured them, but really you're only going after the insurance money. I mean, maybe 1 out of 1,000 times where someone has a significant assets and you could collect 1 out of 1,000. The rest are insurance claims. And as you know, these insurance companies, they try to nickel and dime everybody because they're not interested in paying out claims. They just want the premiums. And they're pretty calloused hearted people that work there at the insurance companies. I mean, that's their job, to try to save the company money. I get that part. But when you're on my side of the fence and they're concerned about profits and I'm concerned about the person, that's when obviously we have a falling out. And so the other thing too is, I didn't want to bill my time anymore. I didn't want to send bills by the hour.
Oh, that's going to be so stressful. Yeah.
It was stressful, and I wanted to be paid based on my competency and results, as opposed to how much time I put into it.
Right.
So it's kind of a win-win all the way around. I've really found my niche. I'm really happy doing it.
Oh, that's awesome. So like, there are a lot of lawyers across the state. So like, Dennis Hernandez, like, and Associates, and your firm, like what would you say like distinguishes you and sets you apart from everybody else?
Sure. So first of all, we advertise, all throughout the state. We have offices in Orlando, Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sarasota, Fort Myers. We handle cases all over the state of Florida. And I would say there are a couple of main differences that we have above other firms. Number one is when you see an ad or hear an ad on the radio or see an ad on TV in the Tampa Bay area, more times than not, the vast majority of the time, the lawyer you see in the ad doesn't even live in your community. It's someone who lives in another city who's advertising in the Tampa Bay area. They have no connection to Tampa Bay. They've never been in the Tampa courthouse. They've never been in the Sarasota courthouse. Some of these guys have never tried a case. And for sure, when you call that law firm, you will never speak to that guy that's in the ad. So I always say it's kind of like a box of chocolates. You call a big firm, but you don't know, they're going to just give you anyone. You don't know who you're going to get. Is it a guy with a year's worth of experience or someone with 25 years? Is it a guy who's tried cases like me and got $1 verdicts? Or is it a guy who's either tried cases and
Wait,
got
say that again. $1 million verdict. We cut out. You had million dollar verdicts.
I'm sorry, I was rambling there. Yeah,
no,
so
no, no, no. I want to hear it.
Yeah. I've had separating me separate from others is that, I personally try cases. I personally get multi-million-dollar verdicts.
Yep.
The law firms that are advertising, we are an advertising law firm, but I do the advertising to get people to personally help them.
Right.
A lot of these other firms, you're just collecting cases.
Right.
And the guy in the ad is not really interested in you, may not ever even know your name, and you're going to get handed off to some joker that may or may not know what they're doing.
Right. And I will say, like, I've been to your website and I do see that you have like a nice, concise size staff.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you probably work with them and give them good advice and tips, and they could probably go to you if they have questions about the theory of a case.
Yep. I review every single case in my law firm. Every single case I go through with every single lawyer that I have assisting me on the files at least once a month. And if the case ever goes to trial or when they go to trial, I personally try the case. So, when you call my law firm, you get me.
Right.
You don't get handed off to someone in some remote city or some remote office.
Right. It looks like, it's just, I hope everybody goes to your firm website and takes a look, because I could tell by the way you have the firm set up in terms of your associates and in terms of your website, you could tell you guys have a tight team, and you probably bounce theories off of each other. And
Absolutely.
I could tell, you go in there and look at the cases. It's not one of these case factories where they keep just pushing personal injury cases along. So
trying to do a volume. As you know, a lot of
volume,
law firms,
right.
Yeah, they're pushing volume. They're not interested in collecting the most on every case. What they're interested in is putting the least amount of time to get the most amount of money. So they're turning the cases, and they've got enough volume to do that. But then the clients don't get as much money, obviously.
Right. So, Dennis, do you have any advice for law students at all? Like people who want to become a lawyer?
Well, it's a tough market, as you know. They're pumping out lots of lawyers, especially here in Florida. We've got, I believe, 13 law schools, and they're just pumping them out. But like anything else, I wouldn't find that discouraging, because there's always room for someone who's going to work hard and be good at what they're doing.
That's right.
So, I would say the advice to lawyers would be find something you're really passionate about. If you can, don't chase the biggest money for your first job. A lot of people will take the job because it's 5,000 or 10,000 more than the next job. I would say don't take a job based on what they pay you. Take it, even though I pay more than market rate to my lawyers, but don't take a job based on what they pay you. Take a job based on what you will become working there.
Are you like a mentor to all your associates, would you say?
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
so important. And I would believe that, because you say you review the cases monthly. So that's huge. I mean, you're not like just putting them like out there and having them go and do their own thing. So I definitely do see that. So I think that's an amazing thing. And that's really important for young attorneys.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's one of the things that I really prided the law firm on, which is we have an incredible mentoring program. I've personally done, probably 100 different videos that I have lawyers that are loaded up, the lawyers can use to review on different topics and things like that. If they have a question about it, it's right in our system. And then I do mentoring both in groups with the lawyers, and I also do it individually during the file reviews when we're talking about cases. So I spend a lot of time with them talking about theories of the case and how the facts come out, and what does it sound like when the facts come out. Because we as lawyers, I believe that what our job is, well, obviously, number one is to tell the truth, because a jury is not going to be buffaloed. You can't buffalo 6 people. So,
Right.
you got to tell the truth. But in telling the truth, as lawyers, we know that there's an order in which you tell the story that has more of an impact rather than just being scattered in your presentation. So some of that stuff really takes, it takes years of practice and skill and study and having my own mentors over the years. I've had some of the best mentors on the planet, and I'm so grateful for what they've taught me. And I still seek them out. I still seek out people. Everybody has something to teach.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's amazing. So like, what else have we left out about your firm that you want to go ahead and tell us?
Well, nobody pays any cost at our firm. We recover all the money out. It's contingency, as you know, but other
Yep.
people may not. And so we get our money out of the recovery in the case, and I front all of the costs. I have no problem spending $100,000 to try a case.
Yep.
So I have the resource to do it, and I like spending it to get good recoveries for clients. So there are a lot of law firms out there, as you know, who don't have those resources. They don't have the money to be able to sink $100,000 into a single case to try it. And so that's number one. So the law firm may not even have the money to get you into trial and attempt to settle the case beforehand because they don't have a choice. So that's one big thing. And then, of course, I personally go in and try the case with track record of multi-million-dollar verdicts. So you don't have to worry about who's going to be there when you need them. Getting just some random person from that firm sent in there.
Yep, right.
Who may not have even been the lawyer on your file the entire time you were there at the firm.
Hey, Dennis, I just want to say before you go any further, if we get disconnected,
Yeah.
please click the link that you clicked to get in, okay? And we'll
Okay.
get back in because we had your third party come in and then. But if we get disconnected, just click the link, okay?
I will.
Okay. So go ahead.
And then being from the Tampa community, I think is very important. Because the judges, like anywhere else, the judges know me. And, it's
Right.
better to be known by the judges. I'm not saying they give me special favors or
Right.
anything. It's good to know the judges on to know who they are as humans.
Yeah.
And how they're going to react. And it's good for them to know the lawyer, if the lawyer is credible and has demonstrated to the judge that they're not going to try to pull a fast one. So I know who the judges are. I'm not trying to say that I'm best friends with all the judges. I'm definitely not saying that they would do anything improper or lean my way in a particular way, but knowing someone and having a relationship with them, even a business relationship, helps you present your case. And also being from Florida and the Tampa Bay area, lived here all my life, I feel that really gives me a leg up with regard to jury selection.
Yep.
And picking the jurors in our community who are going to have the most open mind in hearing the case. So it's really, I've got the big firm resource of pulling out all the stops to try a case.
Sure.
I'm the guy that's going to try it.
Yep.
I'm the guy that lives in the Tampa Bay area. And I'm the guy that I've been in front of these judges in these different courthouses, around the state. So, that's what I think separates us.
So you get big firm sort of quality, but you're the partner, the owner is reviewing the cases and is taking it to court.
Correct.
Which is huge because you have a lot of experience. You've been there a lot of times. You're watching your associates to see what they're doing, to see their theory of the cases, and you're meeting with them once a month. And you're the one actually processing and bringing the cases to court.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's probably the main divider. People could say they care. I mean, I, I, mean, I honestly have a huge compassion for people that are injured. For me, I'll often get into a fight with the insurance company,
Yep.
and personally spend so much time and money on it that if I looked at it from a business standpoint, it wouldn't make any sense. It would have been better to settle that case and move on to the next. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it as if there's a value to the case for that human being, that I'm going to get that amount of money out of the insurance company, regardless of how long it takes or what I have to do for it.
Right.
So, I think that pretty much helps all of my clients, making them individuals.
So what kind of a boss would you say you are to like all these kids?
I would say I'm that's a hard one, right? So I would say I'm demanding.
Really? How so? Like, what is that? So how?
Well, I
Do you have a big red marker that you whoosh?
No. No, I'm demanding for perfection.
Yeah.
And to get every detail ironed out.
So are you like a really good writer? Can I say, like, are you a really good writer? Like, you see somebody's writing and you're really kind of constructing it into something that you want. Is that?
Well, it's funny because I would say I am a good writer, but I'm better at writing a story about a human being using regular words.
Okay.
And I am writing an appellate brief with Latin words and fancy flowery language. So I used to have that for the rich people, the flowery language stuff. And now going to court, nobody wants to hear you sound.
No, actually, that's true. I remember even me being in law school, like they were telling you they don't want to hear like all this fancy flowery stuff. They want it really like kind of simple and concise. The court.
Right.
That was like the first year they were coming out with that, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Because most of it's common sense. We don't need to know, the jury doesn't need to know every aspect of the law.
Right.
They're looking at a situation. It's like, what makes the most sense here? And so that's what you're really trying to point out, the things to the jury that make the most sense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's who you're speaking to. I mean,
just from a common
it's not a
sense.
competition about who knows Webster's dictionary better,
Right. Exactly.
It's all about just like making it concise, for sure.
Right. Concise, to the point.
Well, I'll tell you, every young attorney needs a mentor. So it looks like you have a nice staff on board.
I do.
So congratulations to you.
Thanks.
And your success. So what else? What did we miss, Dennis? Like, did you want to? Is there anything else that you would like to present to our community?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of it. My family roots, law firm. I've had 25 years now of my own law firm, consecutive. So obviously, it's been my Tampa office. I've been there for over 20 years. And I'm close to the courthouse and all that. So obviously I have a lot of Tampa connection. I have a great mentor program for young lawyers if anyone's looking to apply for a position.
Oh, you have a mentor program?
I have a mentor program.
Really? What's that like?
Well, there's a whole curriculum.
Really?
Yeah, that I put all of my lawyers through.
So that's amazing. So like, tell us about that.
Well, I've got a series of checklists to make sure that nothing's, missed. I have a specific way in which we prepare clients for depositions, prepare them for compulsory medical exams where the defense doctor is going to be examining your client and just saying there's nothing wrong with them or it has nothing to do with the crash. That's what they always say every single time. How to take depositions of the experts, the radiologists and orthopedic surgeons, how to sit down and prepare your client for depositions, how to take the deposition of the defendant. I mean, every single piece, unlike many other places, they're specifically mentored on how to do it instead of just thrown out there.
So you do that all at once, or like when it comes up to the time for them to be doing those things?
No, it takes I would say about 2 years for me to fully train someone on my methods.
Okay, so if you say they have like a deposition coming up, you like train them on that? Is that how it works?
Right. First with new lawyers, I try to get them started with new cases and get them also in the middle of some litigation cases because I want them to learn how the whole thing looks. If you see what it looks at trial, what does it look like at trial? Then at the beginning of your case, you know much better about how to prepare that in the future. But if you've never seen what happens in the outcome and how every one of your decisions has had an effect, sometimes younger lawyers fail to appreciate how important that is.
So are you always hiring, or are you like at capacity, or are you always looking?
No, there's always room for another.
So I think I just want to say, like, to anybody who's listening, like when this recording comes out, like that's incredible. I think like, that's a great aspect of your firm, Dennis, is that you take into mind like young attorneys who want to learn and who want to be put through that sort of a program. So
Right.
that's amazing. Like, congrats to you for like such a, that's a
Thank
lot
you.
of people are looking for that. That's really
I
cool.
wish someone had done it for me because I
Right.
spent 5 years in a big firm and I didn't learn jack except for
Totally.
how to write some briefs and memos and research. I think I went to one deposition in 5 years and they let me cover 1 hearing. It was absolutely absurd, and I never even saw a trial.
Totally.
So yeah, so my folks are in there within the first year.
Well, let me just tell you this. I mean, I know you have a very successful law firm. You've been in the biz for 25 years and you have a nice group of lawyers. But if you and your staff ever come across anybody on Lawyer Stories who looks like, and we have like a decent Florida contingency, and in fact, our first Lawyer Stories networking event took place in Brickell Center, Miami in 2020. Like, and there's a lot of students out there looking for something. Like, we're happy to like, make the connection,
I'd love to
send you a good student that we think is, would be a good fit for Dennis Hernandez.
Yeah, I would.
Because I think it's amazing what you're doing. Like, I think the overall thing is just terrific. So
I appreciate it. I'm trying to turn out, I'm getting a little older now in my life, so I'm trying to figure out how to have the most impact and contribution to society. I mean, that's kind of where you get, I think, when you start getting older is, you've already made money and you've done this, that, and the other, but you want to contribute, right?
Right.
That's probably in part why you're doing the Lawyer Stories.
That's it.
Right. So I want to turn out lawyers who are going to provide like outstanding, like the best legal representation that I can possibly train them to do. Which is, because then there's an army of other people that are out there, doing the same thing to the best of their ability after they've been, mentored and trained.
Right.
Yeah, as opposed to just going to, these big firms, they hire a bunch of people, they throw them in cubicles, there's not.
Well, I think that's a very noble thing, like what you're doing. And I think that'll stick with like a lot of the people out there, because we do have a good Florida contingency. And like, if you or your staff ever want to get in touch with me, if they see somebody that they're following Lawyer Stories and, or if they want a referral and I have somebody and we can discuss. And I think that's terrific. That's great. And thank you. Honestly, on behalf of somebody who didn't really have a mentor in the law coming out of legal, like, thank you for doing that, because that's super important.
So what that's like, not to be mentored.
Well, not in the law. I mean, I had somebody in the other industry I ended up going into ultimately, but who's terrific. But where I spent 3 years, like, I didn't have somebody who said, when I made a mistake like 2 or 3 times, weren't patient enough to be like, hey, like, you have to do this X, Y, and Z. Because I think a lot of kids coming out of law school, they learn theory. You know what I mean? Like, they don't learn the practical. It's not medical school. Medical school, you're put on the spot. You have to make you have to like do the surgery and all that stuff, whatever, they have their own form of the Socratic method, but it's definitely not law school. And I think, I don't think everybody needs a mentor. Like, for me, I'm the type of person who does. So I think that's like a great thing that you have going on. Like, you have it in your mind that you want to like put younger people in your firm. So
yeah,
way to go. That's awesome.
I appreciate it.
So is there anything else that we left out today that you want to talk about?
Not that I can really think of.
Okay, good. Well, It was awesome having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
You're a really cool firm, and I'm glad we got to finally do that. Stay right there. I'm just going to tell the Lawyer Stories community, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves.